Today is the day the federal judge has ordered the Trump administration to get Kilmar Abrego Garcia back from El Salvador. We know the Trump administration has already said that they are not going to do this, that they don't think they have the authority, that they are lying to us. Push these judges to hold this administration in contempt of court for not following directives. Another news story came out today saying that there are no criminal records for almost every single person that we sent over to El Salvador. This is the test. If they can successfully ignore the judge's order on this, we can't get any of them back. And I want them all back. So keep talking about it, keep screaming about it, keep getting in the streets. Don't be quiet. Push for contempt of court charges against these people. Actual consequences. I want Kilmar Abrego Garcia back here with his family, and I want every single person we sent to El Salvador home immediately.
Cannot stress enough how crazy this decision is and what's happened over the last couple days, because the government's argument is that, look, we made a mistake. He should not have been removed from this country. We are in the wrong. However, even though we're in the wrong, you, court, have no power over us because he's already gone. Oopsie daisy, nothing else that can be done. That was the argument of the government in court, and it's become a rather difficult issue for the government and the attorney who made the argument, because now he's been administratively separated or put on leave.
We have breaking news right now. Chief Justice John Roberts in the United States Supreme Court has indefinitely paused an order that required the United States government to return Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a Maryland father who was unlawfully deported to El Salvador from El Salvador. Chief Justice Roberts just issued an opinion, an unsigned kind of stay of a lower court order that required the United States government by 11:59 p.m. tonight to retrieve and return Abrego Garcia from El Salvador. This is a stunning ruling, given the fact that the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals today literally found that the United States government should be required to return Abrego Garcia by 11:59. And despite that, Chief Justice Roberts has put a pause on the case until a further opinion can be issued. For now, Abrego Garcia will remain in El Salvadorian custody. I'll do a full breakdown shortly on my Substack, link to my bio. Follow along, stay up to date on all the news you need to know about.
Chief Justice Roberts of the Supreme Court has just suspended the deadline to get Kilmar Abrego Garcia back from El Salvador. I've said it before and I'll say it again. We need to abolish the Supreme Court. And this isn't because they're giving out decisions we don't like. It's because we kidnapped a man off the streets while he was waiting with his child at the bus stop and deposited him into a foreign, for-profit slave prison in a country that he did not originate from, despite the fact that he had no criminal record. They're also unceremoniously revoking student visas by the hundreds each week so that they can create criminals to do the same thing too. Call your representatives, stay loud, get in the streets. The protests this weekend were amazing. Let's keep that energy up and keep it going.
The Supreme Court just issued a stay, which means that Kilmar Garcia is going to be in El Salvador longer than expected. So according to NBC News, Chief Justice John Roberts agreed to pause the midnight deadline for the Trump administration to return the Maryland man mistakenly deported to El Salvador. And if that's not bad enough, his attorney only has till 5 p.m. tomorrow night to write a reply back to the Chief Justice. But NBC News goes a little bit further into detail.
The U.S. Supreme Court issued a stay in the case. That means the government no longer has to meet an 11:59 p.m. deadline to bring Kilmar Abrego Garcia back to the United States.
So this comes after an appeals court left the deadline in place earlier today.
Now, what's crazy is that this is being argued by the Solicitor General. Now, the Solicitor General stated in front of Chief Justice John Roberts, in a quote, "an absurdly compressed mandatory deadline that vastly complicates the give and take of foreign relations negotiations." Essentially, what he's saying is that the timeline, which was today at 11:59 p.m., was just too tight and compressed to return him back to the United States from El Salvador, and that it required more of a negotiation between El Salvador and the United States. So to give such a tight deadline is absurd. Now, the Solicitor General went on with his statements to Chief Justice John Roberts and said, this order and its demands to accomplish sensitive foreign negotiation, it's not sensitive, it is not complicated. The United States has a very, very, very seamless relationship with El Salvador, and he knows that. And he knows that if the U.S. federal government asked for one of the prisoners to be released, they'd be released. put on a plane, first class probably, and brought back to the United States. So I think it's very disingenuous that the Solicitor General is arguing, oh, this could break foreign national relations between us and El Salvador. It does not. Mistakes happen all the time in the justice system, and when they are overseen and overturned, they typically go pretty smooth. Now, Garcia's attorneys had last argued in the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals. Remember, they have till 5 p.m. tomorrow. It doesn't mean that they're going to wait till 5 p.m. tomorrow, but they do have until 5 p.m. tomorrow to make a statement back to Chief Justice John Roberts. But the statement that Garcia's attorneys made with the Fourth Circuit, he said the United States government has no legal authority to snatch a person who is lawfully present in the United States off the streets and remove them from a country without due process. He also stated the government's contention otherwise and its arguments that the federal courts are powerless to intervene are unconscionable. Exactly. The federal government can and always intervenes using the courts. So why all of a sudden this one is just so pressing that the United States just can't seem to wiggle around it? I have no idea. And it says a lot because it makes me think that they are attempting to save face because they made a mistake, but mistakes happen. It's just what it is. It's the not correcting the mistake as to why people are in such an uproar about Garcia's case. But if there's any updates about when Garcia's attorney sends his reply to Chief Justice John Roberts, I'm going to keep you guys posted.
This is actually the case that was dealing specifically with the Venezuelans deported in Texas under the Alien Enemies Act. And this was from what Judge Boasberg was working on. But the Abrego Garcia case is a different one. With that said, it's interesting that you bring that up because Sotomayor basically says the same thing that you just said, that, you know, this has life or death consequences. Individuals who are unable to secure counsel will be in this perilous conditions of El Salvador's CECOT, where detainees suffer egregious human rights abuses, and then they do mention the case. She also said, she points out that the government is at this very moment seeking emergency relief from an order requiring it to facilitate the return of an individual the government concededly removed to CECOT, quote, because of an administrative error. See emergency motion for stay pending appeal and immediate administration stay in Abrego Garcia versus Nome.
We have some breaking news right now. The United States Supreme Court has just sided with the Trump administration in a 5-4 decision, allowing deportations under the Alien Enemies Act to begin once again. The decision today is an interesting one. It's a 5-4 decision with the 4 female justices, Justice Coney Barrett, Justice Jackson, Justice Kagan, and Justice Sotomayor in dissent. The majority essentially holds that while the Trump administration can use the Alien Enemies Act to deport Venezuelans over the age of 14, those who are subject to deportation must have fair notice and must be able to reasonably challenge the deportation through habeas corpus proceedings. But all in all, this is a win for the Trump administration because it grants them the ability to conduct these fast-track deportations under the Alien Enemies Act, which is a wartime authority. I'm reading through the opinion now. I'll have a full breakdown shortly on my Substack, so be sure to subscribe for free at the link in my bio and follow along for all the news you need to know about. More to come.